Hey Scooby fans, welcome to another episode of Planet Scooby Reviews. In this episode, we are covering the Chiller Diller Movie Thriller. What exactly a diller is, I am not sure. Perhaps it's a reference to the comedian Phyllis Diller, or maybe a reference to the expression a dill of a pickle. If you know, let me know in the comments below. Chiller Diller Movie Thriller is the fourth episode of Season 2 of the Scooby-Doo show, and it first aired on October 8th, 1977. This episode has never appeared on DVD until recently. On August of 2019, it will appear on the Scooby-Doo 50th Anniversary set, which you can buy off of Amazon. I'll leave a link below. Chiller Diller Movie Thriller is notable for having Scooby-Dum and Scooby-Dee as part of the cast. This is also the last episode to feature Scooby-Dum, aside from Laugh Olympics episodes.
Clues? Dum 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 boom.
And this is the first and last episode to have Scooby-Dee, unless you count the possible cameo in the What's New Scooby-Doo episode titled Homeward Hound. The Scooby-Dee cameo in Homeward Hound is a much debated argument among the truest Scooby-Doo nerds, as some feel it's her and others don't.
Whatever y'all say.
Scooby-Dee is Scooby-Dum and Scooby-Doo's cousin. Both Scooby-Doo and Scooby-Dum are enamored with her and will do anything to rescue her from trouble or just receive a kiss from her. Yes, this is kind of weird and awkward at times. But enough of the flowers in the attic drama. Lights, camera, action. Let's get on with this review. The episode opens up with a bit of mood by showing an old mansion estate during a lightning storm. We cut to the inside of the mansion, and we see the Phantom of Dixie confronting a knitting dog sitting on the couch.
It's you!
Yes, Miss Jane.
We are told this dog's name is Miss Jane. This is all just movie magic in the works because Scooby-Dee is acting on a movie set. She is making her next blockbuster movie called The Phantom of Dixie. The movie itself is a remake of an old silent film that was a hit decades ago.
The original Phantom of Dixie was a silent movie many years ago.
Filming ends for the day, and Velma and Freddy explain that the original silent film made a huge superstar out of Milo Booth, who played the original Phantom of Dixie. Scooby-Dee excuses herself to take her makeup off, and we see a shadowy phantom approach her dressing room.
I'm gonna take my makeup off. I'll be right back.
The phantom sneaks a creepy letter into Scooby-Dee's mirror, which Scooby-Dee soon finds.
Oh!
Back on set, Freddy reads the letter to everyone, including the movie's producer, Mr. Mogul. As the letter is signed by Milo Booth, Mr. Mogul explains to the gang that this is impossible, as Milo Booth died 20 years earlier.
But that's impossible. Milo's been dead for 20 years.
Mr. Mogul places Scooby-Dee under a 24-hour watch under the watchful eye of Jim Moss, the studio chief of security.
This is Jim Moss, our studio chief.
And Rod Kennedy, a dog trainer, or as Mr. Mogul explains, Scooby-Dee's dramatic coach.
Rod Kennedy is a dog trainer, better known as Scooby-Dee's dramatic coach.
Scooby-Dee is heading back home, so Mr. Mogul arranges a private car on board a train. And the gang, along with Rod Kennedy and Jim Moss, guarantee they'll keep a watchful eye on her. Before the train trip even starts, Shaggy is already spooked as he sees a coffin being loaded into a separate rail car. Shaggy speculates it's the Phantom's coffin, to which Daphne thinks he's ridiculous. Scooby-Dee puts his mind at ease by explaining it must be a movie prop.
Sure, honey, just a prop.
The train gets rolling and we see the Phantom of Dixie emerge from the coffin and let out a sinister laugh. After hundreds of haunted mysteries, Shaggy knows when trouble is just around the bend. As Scooby-Dee, Fred, Daphne, and Velma sit down for dinner, the Phantom can be seen crawling across the roof of the train. In the kitchen compartment below the Phantom, Shaggy, Scooby-Doo, and Scooby-Dum can be found making a sandwich. The Phantom climbs down the side of the train and peers in the window upon Shaggy, Shaggy spots the Phantom, and he, along with Scooby-Doo and Scooby-Dum, run out of the kitchen and into the dining car. There, Scooby explains to Freddy that they just saw the Phantom. Jim Ma struts in and tells the gang that he saw the Phantom as well, so Freddy and Daphne escort Scooby-Doo back to her private car. Jim Ma tells the gang he'll check on the other cars and instructs Scooby-Doo, Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby-Dum to check the baggage cars. Shaggy's not too impressed with checking out the baggage car, as that's where they loaded the coffin.
Stop trembling. People don't get out of a coffin very often.
Inside the coffin, they hear a groan.
Zoinks! Like what's that?
So they crack it open and find the train's conductor. The conductor explains that he saw the Phantom and he must have passed out and was placed in the coffin. Looking for clues, Velma finds some mud on the ground and in the coffin. Velma decides they should all head back to Scooby-Dee's car to tell Freddy. While Freddy and Daphne guard Scooby-Dee, the Phantom barges in to terrify them. His entrance is ruined when Shaggy opens the door and bumps the Phantom in the rear end. Turning off the lights, the Phantom disappears. Freddy explains to Jim Moss and Rod Kennedy what just went down.
It is Milo Booth.
Freddy decides they should dress Scooby up as Scooby-Dee and fool the Phantom into kidnapping the wrong dog. Jim Moss adds to the plan that they'll hide Scooby-Dee in a sleeping bunk in a separate car, and they'll have Shaggy guard her. Shaggy falls asleep guarding Scooby-Dee, and she slips out to grab a drink of water. Freddy, Scooby-Dum, and Scooby-Doo, dressed up, discover Shaggy napping and see that Scooby-Dee is missing.
Wake up, Shag! You're sleeping on duty! Huh?
So let's talk a little bit about your duties.
Searching in various bunks, Scooby-Dum and Scooby-Dee wake up several not-so-impressed guests. During Scooby-Dee's trek for water, she is nabbed by the Phantom, and an imposter dog is substituted for her spot.
A phantom. Hello, dearie. What?
The imposter fools Freddy and the gang, so they return to Scooby-Dee's car. The Phantom then disconnects Scooby-Dee's car from the train. The car then comes to a complete stop in Boothville, which is a town named after Milo Booth. The gang realize they've been uncoupled from the main train when they see the Phantom walking outside the train with a bag thrown over his shoulder. Dashing away, the Phantom runs towards the town morgue.
Where's he going? Where else? Back to his grave.
Splitting up, Shaggy and the dogs go one way, and Freddy and the rest of the gang go the other way to look for clues. At the Booth family mausoleum, Freddy finds the door wide open and they enter. Heading inside, they find more fresh mud on the ground. They then open up the Milo Booth crypt to find out that it is, of course, empty.
It looks like Milo Booth did come back from the dead.
Meanwhile, back in the cemetery, Shaggy and the dogs are terrorized by the Phantom. It's at this point they realize the other dog is an imposter, as she does not kiss like Scooby-Dee.
That's 'cause she's not Scooby-Dee!
The fake Scooby-Dee runs off, and the gang are all reunited in the crypt where they plot their next move. Before Freddy can lay out a trap to catch the Phantom locks them in the crypt.
You will never get out!
However, Scooby-Dee's clumsiness helps them escape the crypt in record time. Leaving the cemetery, the gang head for town. Shaggy spots a sign for the fair, which features a Milo Booth museum, so the gang head there. The gang head into the museum where they find a film projector with the film playing. The film is an old newsreel of Milo Booth waving to his adoring fans. The gang realize that the real Milo Booth wore glasses.
The Milo Booth we saw didn't wear any glasses.
So the Phantom Milo had to be fake. They also spot fresh human and dog footprints, so they realize the Phantom is nearby. Leaving the museum, they spot the imposter dog, and the gang follow the imposter dog into the fair's funhouse. They also find the Phantom, and a chase takes place. After conquering several obstacles such as spinning tunnels, a merry-go-round, and a log ride, the gang finally capture the Phantom in a Ferris wheel cart.
Gotcha!
Under police supervision, Freddy removes the mask of the Phantom, and it's revealed that the chief of security, Jim Moss, is the guilty bad guy.
It's the detective, Jim Moss. She's a faker, too.
At the Boothville police station, Freddy explains that Jim Moss planned on making his own movies using the fake Scooby-Dee, as she would only be able to obey him. The Phantom identity was only a ruse to convince Rod Kennedy, the dog trainer, that Scooby-Dee was so frightened by the Phantom that from now on she'd only be able to obey Jim Moss. Finally, to make the world think that Milo had been resurrected, he switched the nameplate off of Milo Booth's real coffin to an empty one. With the mystery solved, the gang head back to Hollywood to celebrate Scooby-Dee's movie award for Best Outstanding Actress in a Canine Role.
The winner is Miss Scooby-Dee. Congratulations, Scooby-Dee, and here is your award.
Let's see who else would have been her competition for that year. And for the Best Outstanding Actress in a Canine Role, our nominations are Pipette in Jaws, Benji in For the Love of Benji, Misha for The Pack,
Then Tom saw.
and Scooby-Dee in The Phantom of Dixie.
It's you!
Yes, Miss Jane.
Whatever y'all say.
This episode is fantastic. Overall, I'd give this episode a 9.5 out of 10. There's a lot I love about this episode, particularly the creepy cemetery setting. The funhouse is awesome, and the train is wicked. I love the fact that this took place on a train. The look of the Phantom is rather cool too, and I just adored the Milo Booth backstory. What I didn't like were the Scooby-Dum scenes. I am just not a fan of Scooby-Dum, as I don't think he adds anything interesting. I get why they included him, because he might have interjected more comedy into this episode, as overall this episode is rather creepy and they might not want to have scared kids. But yeah, still not a Scooby-Dum fan, and I don't think this episode needed him at all. The Phantom looked pretty cool, and he was given lots to do. It's really awesome watching him crawl on the train roof and terrify Scooby and the gang, as well as terrifying Shaggy in the cemetery and locking everyone in the mausoleum. This episode is one of the best Scooby-Doo episodes, I have to say, and it's worth checking out just because it's so epic in its storytelling. We jump from a film set to a train to a cemetery, and then we end up at a funhouse, concluding with an award ceremony, all in just 20 minutes. Anyway, gang, that wraps up another episode. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe. If you would like to request a Scooby-Doo episode for review by me, leave it in the comments below. I try to put out a new episode out every week. Anyway, until next time, stay cool.